says that the government at different levels, the government at different levels should accept the supervision. The judiciary and the procuratorate, of course, should all accept the supervision. But then he goes on to say, the Communist Party should support it. And that gives rise to yet another most interesting question as to which comes across as the most powerful. Professor He Jiaohong says on top of the power structure sits the supremacy of the National People's Congress, and yet the party's leadership assumes the supremacy, and that's enshrined by the Constitution. Do you see anything incompatible between the three things, the party, the Congress, and the judiciary?
I think this is a very interesting question, and it's a very tough question, but I would like to answer in this way. You know, the leadership of the Communist Party is everywhere in the country, including the National People's Congress. The National People's Congress is the supreme power in the country, but it is under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. So this is a relationship between, you know, the party and the NPC, and also the State Council, and also the Supreme People's Procuratorate. So that's a relationship between the party and the government and the power organizations. But, you know, for the power organizations, the NPC, the State Council, the Supreme People's Court, and Supreme People's Procurator, there is another issue. That's independence of the judiciary. The judicial independence, right?
Yeah.
So here comes the problem of supervision by NPC or standing committee of the NPC. They should supervise the enforcement of the law, right? But the judiciary, the court, should have the independence in individual cases when they are making the judgment. They should have the independent power, should not be interfered with by others.
Let's look at the mechanism of mutual supervision from this most interesting angle. If you go to the grassroots organizations outside Beijing, you would find that most of the officials of the People's Congress turned out to be the ex-government officials. They are supposed to retire from the forefront of the administrative branch at the grassroots levels. And they have developed a far-flung network of connections, one way or another, from the incumbent government. Now, is it possible for the top officials of the People's Congress to repeal what is called inappropriate decisions, and to even summon the government officials to his office and say, hey, I'm afraid there's something wrong, tell me, what do you think of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, is it appropriate? Sure. I mean, you know, yes, I think it's appropriate. I mean, I think that the question is, are they infallible because they're final, or are they final because they're infallible? I mean, that's the real question. I mean, where does it end? Now, let's go back to 12 Angry Men. That was how they were making law. Those 12 people made law. They made the decision. Whatever the law was, they decided what the law was going to be that day in that courtroom, okay? And it's the same thing that the law is made by our judiciary. It's also made by our legislature. But our legislature is supposedly infallible because they're final. But the problem is our legislature is actually selected by the executive, and then it's approved by the Congress. And so unless you get through those hurdles, it's the same circle. And so I think the devil is in the details, or God is in the details. You can create a vicious cycle or a virtuous cycle. Someone has to draw a line in the sand and say, this is the direction that we're going in. And that's what's happening at NPC right now.
And I'm afraid the government officials won't be appointed unless and until a kind of a hearing is held to oversee the qualifications of such government officials. But given the current realities in this country, I am a little bit confused. But I'd like to have an answer from Professor He Jiaohong when I go back to you after this short break. You are watching Voices and Votes on CCTV International. For more information on the current policy debates and the legislative process, please check out our website at cctv.com. We welcome your comments and opinions. Don't go away.
The Great Hall of the People, the symbol of state power, the heart of the nation's political life. Discussions, debates and decisions. What happens here reflects the country's present and shapes the nation's future. Every March, the Great Hall of the People becomes a focus for China and the world. CCTV International takes you to the Great Hall of the People during the annual convention of the NPC and the CPPCC.
Political participation and transparency are the keywords guiding our special daily program. Tune in between 7 and 8 p.m. Beijing time for a special daily live broadcast. We shall take a closer look at the rule of law and democracy in today's changing China. Stay with me and stay tuned to Voices and Votes during the first 2 weeks of March. Welcome back to Voices and Votes, our special coverage dedicated to the ongoing annual sessions of China's top lawmaking body and the top advisory body. Despite China's rapidly expanding legal infrastructure, many migrant workers still find it difficult to gain access to the judicial system. Representation from legal aid centers is limited, but some migrant workers have found a champion lawyer. In today's Across China special, Han Bin travels to Chongqing to meet the unique lawyer who has helped thousands of migrant workers win back their rights.
Chongqing and the good life. Much of the city's prosperity is built on the labor of migrant workers. There are over 100 million of them across China, and in their world, there's often little respect for their rights. Today, over 70 migrant workers have come to the law office of Zhou Litai. They used to work for one of the biggest state-owned companies in Chongqing. After no results from the local labor department, they turned to Zhou, one of the very few lawyers in the field. Su Libing says he's owed his pension, insurance, and overtime pay. He's asking for $5,000 US. Zhang Jiping says above all, he wants justice. Zhang was at the company for over 13 years. He needs the money to make a new start.
When we asked the company for our rights, the company fired us without any reason.
Zhou Litai believes migrant workers are entitled to equal protection under the law. He's helped 7,000 of them get compensation. He's been doing this for 10 years. He says China's legal system does, in theory, protect the rights of migrant workers. But the problem is its implementation.
Some local governments are so eager to develop the economy that they'll overlook the law and sacrifice the health and even lives of workers.
Zhou speaks from experience. 20 years ago, he himself was a migrant worker. He found it unbearable and vowed to become a lawyer. At that time, China did not have a labor law. The National People's Congress set up the first labor law in 1995. And Zhou set off on his crusade for migrant workers. When his clients can't get to him, he goes to them. Li Shisheng used to be a coal miner. 2 years ago, an accident at work left him paralyzed. He now needs 24-hour care.
The compensation is too low. My family used to rely on me. But now, the lives of my whole family will face great difficulty.
Li might be paralyzed, but is not taking the situation lying down. He's decided to take up the legal battle. Today, Li Shisheng is going to court, a chance for justice. 20 years ago, that would have been